Hello everyone! Today we're going to be working on sewing skills. We have a practice worksheet with 2 stitches that you're going to practice on. The first 3 directions helps you get started with your materials. So at your table you'll find some thread and some needles. The thread you can share with friends. You will need your own needle. When we are measuring our thread, we're going to measure our wingspan, which is 2 arms lengths. So you're holding the thread in one hand and you end up stretching and reaching all the way across your body. Now the other hand that had the thread, you just let go of it and then you can get your scissors and cut your length. To thread the needle, you're going to kind of hold it close to the end, put one end of the thread through the eye of the needle and pull to match the tails. The tails are your ends. Okay, so you want to match those tails. The way that we tie knots that works the best is one hand has the 2 tails, one hand has the needle. I'm going to stretch them out at first, bring them back together. You're going to take the hand that has the tails, take those tails and you're pointing them at each other. So the needle and the tails are pointing at each other. Stack the tails so that they're on top of the end of the needle. And with those pincher fingers, you're going to pinch all of that together now. So I'm pinching the 2 tails and the end of the needle. All right, now, I know it's hard to see. Currently, my thread is in the shape of an O, or a letter O. You're going to use your other pincher fingers. Pinch this part. See, I'm only pinching part of my letter O, not the whole thing. And take that and wrap it around. Wrap, 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 wrap. And scooch that down to the end of the needle where your pincher fingers are waiting. They're going to grab it, pinch, and pull. This hand only has the needle. This hand has that wrapping, and I'm pulling, 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 pulling until it ends in a knot. Sometimes it's a pretty knot, sometimes it's not so pretty. Does not matter. It does the job. Okay, we're going to start with a running stitch. We have a start, we have an end. You can start by pushing up from the bottom. Oh, I missed my dot. That's okay though. I come up and then I'm going to go back down. When you're going down, make sure you're spreading your fingers apart so you don't poke yourself. Some of the needles can be really sharp. And so you would just do this up and down stitch, okay? If you don't quite get it on the dots, that's fine. But you're just moving your needle up from the bottom. When you're on the top side, you're going back down. Okay, so I'll pause and finish this. When you reach the end, a correct running stitch should look like a dashed line. Now, because we're sewing on paper, if you end up with some rips, don't worry, we're just practicing for right now. When you are finished with a stitch, don't cut the needle off just yet. We're going to use the needle to tie the knot. This is how I want you to practice tying a knot. Slip the needle under your last stitch and you start to pull through, but don't pull all the way through. Leave a little bit of that loop because you need to take your needle and go through that loop. Pull. That's 1. I need you to do it a second time so that it knots. So under the stitch and go through your loop. Pull again, and you got yourself a knot. Okay, after the knot, we'll cut, and now we're going to tie our knot again. I'm going to do it a little quicker this time. I have the 2 tails in one hand, the needle, I point, I stack, pinch them all together. With the free hand, you grab part of the O, wrap, 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 wrap. You slide that down, okay, pinch, pull, and knot. All right, last stitch is the whip stitch. The whip stitch is the one I prefer when we're sewing. You poke up from the bottom, pull all the way through, your knot should catch. Then you whip around the edge, poke up from the bottom again. Whatever side you are poking up from, that is the side you always poke up from. So I'm going to pause for a second so you can see. See how these go around the edge. The whip stitches are awesome. They're quick, and I'm a big fan of them all around. All right, when you get to the end, same deal. Go underneath the last stitch, go through your loop, and repeat under the last stitch, through your loop, and then you'll have a knot. Congratulations, you're ready to sew.